This is police harassment. I have rights. Judith Langford shrieked from the back seat of the patrol car. Her perfectly manicured hands now shackled in stark contrast to her usual pearl bracelets. Her face had turned an alarming shade of crimson, clashing with her designer peach blazer as her voice carried down the quiet suburban street. I am the HOA president. I have the authority to inspect any property. I stood beside Deputy Chief Rosa Delaney, watching as reality slowly punctured Judith's inflated sense of power. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered in my driveway, many with phones out, recording what would soon become the most discussed incident in Willowbend Crest history. Have you ever wondered what happens when a power-hungry HOA president gets so drunk with control that she breaks into a homeowner's garage only to find out the man she's been targeting is actually the city's chief of police? My name is Gabriel Soto, and I lived that moment. After 23 years in law enforcement and a recent appointment as chief of police in the city of Brighton, I decided it was time for a quieter chapter. A divorce after 15 years of marriage had left me reflective and ready for a new beginning. I bought a comfortable 3-bedroom home in Willowbend Crest, a neighborhood known for its manicured lawns, good schools, and unfortunately one of the most overbearing homeowners associations in the state. The house I chose was tucked at the end of a peaceful cul-de-sac. It offered the privacy I craved after years in the public eye. I made a point not to reveal my profession to my new neighbors. Not out of secrecy, but because people tend to act differently around law enforcement. I kept my cruiser parked inside the garage and dressed in casual clothes before returning home. 3 days after I moved in, the doorbell rang at exactly 9 a.m. It was my first Saturday off in weeks. Standing at my doorstep was a petite woman in her early 60s with a precision-cut silver bob and an air of someone who expected the world to fall in line. "Good morning," she said, extending a hand. "Judith Langford, president of the Willowbend Crest Homeowners Association." "Welcome." "Gabriel Soto," I replied, shaking her hand. She handed me a thick leather-bound folder. "This is your welcome packet. It includes our community guidelines, contact information, and upcoming events." "Thanks," I said, flipping through its contents briefly. "We take pride in maintaining high standards," she continued. "Our efforts are why Willowbend property values have increased 33% over the past 5 years. Standards are non-negotiable." Her tone was polished, but her message was sharp. I had interrogated felons with softer delivery. "I'll review everything," I assured her. She gave a tight smile. "Please do. We've already noticed a few compliance issues." She pulled a tiny notebook from her blazer. "Your blinds are the wrong shade. They should be pearl gray, not dove white. Your mailbox lacks the required gold numbering, and your recycling bin was too close to your trash bin." I blinked. "You measured the distance between my bins?" "Guidelines state a minimum 6-inch separation. It's on page 42. After 2 decades in law enforcement, my instincts were sharp. Judith Langford was a problem. Over the following weeks, the violation notices poured in. Some were slipped under my door. Others mailed. A few even arrived via email marked urgent. My grass was a 1/4 inch too long. My garden hose wasn't coiled properly. The new blinds I installed were the correct color but weren't tilted at the right angle. I complied with the reasonable requests, ignored the absurd ones, and stayed focused on my new job, especially a major trafficking case that dominated my days and nights. But Judith wasn't done. A certified letter from the HOA arrived. It stated that an inspection of my home was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 2 p.m., and I was expected to provide full access to the exterior and interior. I read the letter twice, then flipped through the HOA guidelines. As I suspected, no such provision existed. External inspections were allowed. Interior access? Absolutely not. I called the number on the letter. "Willowbend Crest HOA, this is President Langford." "MS. Langford, this is Gabriel Soto from 82 Cypress Glen. I'm calling about the inspection." "Yes, Mr. Soto. Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I won't be available, and I won't be granting access to my home." She paused. Then coldly, "All residents are subject to inspection. It's in the agreement." "I've reviewed the agreement. Exterior inspection only. There's nothing about entering someone's home." Her voice took on that condescending tone I'd heard too many times before. "If you have nothing to hide, this shouldn't be a problem. It's not about hiding. It's about privacy and legality. And I don't consent." Failure to comply can result in daily fines and liens. Only if they're legally enforceable. This isn't. She hung up. Later that day, Trevor and Gwyn from across the street flagged me down. Hey, man. Heads up. The Queen of Covenants is coming after you. Judith? Called a special meeting. Said you were problematic and needed to be dealt with. Just watch your back. 3 days later, I was in a budget meeting when I got a motion alert from my garage camera. I checked the snapshot. There she was, Judith Langford, clipboard in hand, rummaging through my cabinets. I excused myself and called Deputy Chief Delaney. Rosa, need you at my house. Quietly. We've got to break in. On my way. I beat her there by 2 minutes. I stayed in uniform. For once, I wanted Judith to know exactly who she was dealing with. As Rosa pulled in, neighbors emerged from their homes, phones out. I walked up to the garage and hit the opener. The door slowly lifted. There she was, caught mid-snoop, holding a phone and clipboard, face paling as she saw my badge. MS. Langford. I said, care to explain why you're in my garage without permission? She tried to regain composure. This was a scheduled inspection. I have a master key, which you used to enter my property after I explicitly denied access? For community compliance, which doesn't give you legal authority. Even police need a warrant. She scoffed. I am the HOA president, not a law enforcement officer, not a judge. Rosa stepped forward. Ma'am, we need to address the criminal aspects of your actions. This is HOA business. This is criminal trespassing, I said calmly. And it's on camera. She went red, then white. Her composure cracked. I demand my lawyer. I know the mayor. So do I. He appointed me. Rosa read her rights. I stepped back to avoid the optics of arresting someone I had a personal dispute with. As she was placed in the back seat, her protests rang through the glass. Neighbors whispered. Some smiled. One woman clapped. Stephanie Clark, the HOA treasurer, came over. Chief Soto, she said. We never approved master keys. She had them made. She did this alone. Over the following days, stories poured in. People returned from trips to find things moved. Mysterious photos of the inside of garages. Cryptic violation notices. The DA took notice. Judith was charged. The board removed her. Stephanie took over. I was asked to speak at a special meeting. I explained the law. Privacy. Boundaries. Reasonable enforcement. The HOA adopted new rules. All master keys destroyed. Guidelines simplified. A resident committee was formed. Judith took a plea. Probation. Community service. A restraining order. She moved away. 6 months later, at the summer barbecue, Trevor handed me a cold beer. You should run for president. No thanks. One badge is enough. We laughed. The new neighbors moved into Judith's old house. Twin toddlers ran across their lawn. My garage scene of the infamous takedown was now peaceful. The non-compliant cabinets held fishing gear. The camera remained, a silent witness to a lesson in power, privacy, and consequences. Every so often, when I pull into my driveway, I remember the look on Judith Langford's face when she realized who she'd broken in on. And I think, even the chief of police needs a warrant. And an HOA president? Definitely not above the law.